Hello, hello. Welcome to our Parenthood Podcast. This is Thammie C with my hubs. Hubs talaga yan, ha? Nakikiano ako modern. Dennis. My husband, Dennis.
Hi, guys.
Today, we invited our couple very, very dear to us. I think this is just appropriate now if we have the first guest natin.
Celebrity guest natin.
Yes, of course. Sila yung, I think, hindi pwedeng hindi kayo mauna. When we were thinking of how to jumpstart the podcast and who do we invite first, you were the first couple who really came to mind because since we were single, you have walked with us. So this couple they have walked with us ever since we were singles. When
Nung
Dennis
was
courting me, engaged, parang lahat, all through the different seasons of our parenthood also. Diba? You have been there, and until now, you continue to be our dearest friends, and we continue to learn a lot from you. So I'm sure everyone here who is listening will also be learning a lot from you.
Yes.
So,
to introduce, first off, we have Paolo. Paolo, we call him Pastor Paolo. He's the senior pastor of Victory Fort Bonifacio. And he's been married to Jenn for the past 25 years. So they've been married for 25 years already. That's my age, by the way. So if you could see.
Na-disorient ako.
Na-disorient ka, all right. Yeah, and also Miss Jenn Punzalan.
Miss Jenn talaga.
Miss Jenn.
So formal.
Respect. Yeah,
I call her Ate Jenn.
Yes, and she's a homeschooling mom. And as she said earlier, nothing in particular.
Talaga sinabi mo.
Labo.
Okay, they have 4 kids. Nathan recently got married this year ba yun? Was that this year? Okay.
Yes.
And so marami na silang baon because all the way from someone who's already married to someone who is I think who recently graduated ba or di pa, malapit na pero hindi pa, someone who's in high school, and then Joaquin, their youngest is
grade 6.
Grade 6. Ayan.
Yeah.
So ang ganda, di ba, ang lawak ng age range ng mga kids nila.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Paolo and Jenn, for guesting on our show.
You're welcome. We're glad that we could be with you.
Yes, thank you for inviting us. We're happy to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we look up to you guys, ha?
Di naman matangkad si Dennis, ha?
Achoo!
And hello to all your listeners.
All right, so today our topic is very exciting, and it's something that we wanted you to discuss with us because it's something that we also want to learn, and something that I think every time we had meals over your house, we would see the conversations that happen. Yes. And so for today's topic, we'll be talking about the power of meal conversations. No? Yeah.
I think this is something that we have seen consistently in your household. And na-amaze ako every time you would be there. Your kids, even when they were really young, they were always comfortable, sitting with us and having conversations with mga grown-ups. So we wanted to learn about yan. How did you do it? How did you... Ang dami kong pwedeng tanong, pero ikaw muna. Meron ka bang unang tanong? Kung meron kang something na isipin tungkol sa mealtime conversation.
Ako, anong pinaka-secret niyo? Why is mealtime conversation so important?
I think, I'll start and then I'll let Jen speak after. Parang ang importante kasi, it's unfortunately a lost practice today. Especially because of the coming of the gadgets, and or even before that, right? TV, because of the TV. Some families have TVs in their dinner table or in the dining area, and so because of that, the attention has become on the screen rather than on each other, And so, but it's a powerful opportunity actually to either review the day. Or come breakfast, look forward to what the day has for them. Conversations, you can never underestimate the power of conversations. That's where you can actually learn from each other, learn about each other, and a lot of affirmation and encouragement happen there too, and learning and teaching.
Yeah, I'm happy that this is the topic that we're talking about in the next few minutes because It's something that we believe in. And as we move forward, I want to share 3 C's that will help you guys and everyone listening.
Kasi Dennis and Thammie see.
Yes,
Yo.
tatlong C yan. Okay, the 3 C's are culture, connection, and coaching. So the first is, I'll jump in the first topic, first C. It's culture. We were very deliberate at the beginning of our parenting journey to establish this culture where everyone will feel safe to communicate or to have conversations. And now that society has evolved now to a digital technological society where everyone is so busy, where everyone is so distracted with gadgets and everything on the internet, we've all the more realized the value of establishing this culture right now. Kasi I'm thinking, if we didn't establish this culture, baka watak-watak kami as a family. I don't think that everyone would be so willing to come together for mealtime conversations if we didn't establish this culture early on.
Yeah, just a question for both of you. Yung background nyo ba, you guys had mealtime conversations when you were young and that's why you've decided, oh, now that we have our own family, we'll have mealtime conversations?
My family did not grow up in that culture. Ang nangyari, well, kasi I grew up in a single parent home because my mom would come home 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock because she worked 2-3 jobs, no, to lakas ko kasing kumain. So, so she worked a lot of hours talaga. And so we would leave for school after breakfast. She was asleep because napuyat eh. And then we would sleep, pero she was still out. But what happened was when things shifted and she gave her life to Christ and her values shifted also, that also changed. And so we slowly developed the importance of mealtime conversations.
Yeah, for me naman, it was a culture to spend meal times together and conversing with the family. But I think merong differences sa generation eh. During my generation, parang very limited the topics that we would be able to talk to. There wasn't much comfortability. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Comfortability to talk about like a wide range of topics.
What did you usually talk about?
Yeah, just limited to more superficial topics lang. Wala masyado. And later we will talk about that dun sa second C, which is connection. Wala masyadong yung in-depth conversations about our personal lives. But I think it was a good start for me kasi I had so many fun memories having those mealtime conversations with my family.
Actually, I would be part of those. Sometimes I'll eat with them. And then yun lang, isang oras talaga. For 1 hour, they will be in the table eating together. Kasi they would eat, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. But for about 40 to 45 minutes, we're all just jokes. Iba-iba, kwentuhan. Minsan pa ulit-ulit na lang the jokes of, his dad worked in a certain company. And so may mga jokes na.
Pero nakakatawa pa rin.
Ganun lang.
So for you to establish a culture, it's very important to be consistent. So when our kids were young, sometimes you see families where the kids or the babies eat before the adults do, right? Or they eat on a separate table, or they're walking around being followed by the helper and the helper feeding the baby. For us, we really trained our kids to sit in their high chair while everyone is having their meals together. So, of course, you would be a bit creative when the kids are smaller, diba? You cannot just expect them to sit there. So, sometimes you would put snacks or books or some toys. Just because our goal was to establish this culture where everyone sits down together. We didn't allow yung eating separately. And up to this day, our kids are all very busy. They have different activities. They have different interests na actually, but they're trained. They're trained to sit together and eat together, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Especially here in this quarantine, we all still eat together.
Yeah.
So it means you start on time and you start eating together and then you end meals together. Am I right?
Yes. Everyone gets up at the same time.
And sometimes, di ba, minsan nagmamadali yan. They're in a hurry. Yeah. They want to play Fortnite or they want to play Minecraft. Or may trabaho, may homework, whatever. So I will actually, anong tawag nun? I will deliberately make my coffee and slowly finish it slowly. Very, very slowly finish
to keep them longer.
Yes.
Parang sabihin ko, coffee time is sacred time, stay. Okay? So parang okay, coffee time is sacred time. Meaning, sabihin tayo magkakasama.
Right. So actually, the meals are done maybe in 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We're done eating 10 to 15 minutes, but everyone stays seated for maybe 30 minutes
30 minutes,
longer.
yeah.
And we're really just talking, and it's wonderful.
And it's not, it's wonderful, but it's not always, ano ba, hindi naman lahat
Fruitful or
may mga tense moments, may
Yeah.
mga mahihirap na conversations you have to go through and talk
Yeah.
about.
So how do
But
you handle those? Like, meron bang no-nos? For example, kasi di ba when they're young, ang hilig minsan dun, that's when they report the faults or yung mga tension during the day, di ba? That ate did this, kuya did, yung mga ganon. So are there no-nos? Like, do you discuss those things in the dining table during meal times? Or should those wait?
yeah, generally no.
Yeah, no.
When it's an issue that needs more time or that needs to be talked about privately between just a few members of the family, we don't bring that to the table. But one no-no is no to gadgets during mealtime. So no one is allowed to bring gadgets or any distraction, even a book. Nothing of that, because we want the kids, everyone else, 100% in that mealtime.
Pero what happens if it's the dad who's breaking the rule? Paolo, do you break the rules? Tapos Jen would look at you like,
No, I think Kuya Pao never breaks the rules eh. It's just you.
No
Kasi
comment.
my problem is
Paano
then
ba-
to
paano
keep him seated eh. Kailangan, paano ba? Paano ba ito paupuin?
I think it happens to all of us. Sometimes Paolo sits there with his phone unaware. Sometimes it's me or it's Janina. But we just remind each other, guys, no gadgets. Right? So actually, nitong quarantine, there was a time it became quite a challenge because we realized that our kids didn't have any way to connect with their friends but through the gadgets, right?
And even homework.
Even
schoolwork.
homework, everything. So Paolo had to bring out a basket and say, okay, guys, every night he would collect all the gadgets, put your phones here, and then he would put the basket away. There was maybe a week that you had to do that. Parang reboot lang.
yeah.
Was there ever a time that one of your kids said, parang, pwede ba kahit konti? Yung, I don't know, like I hear from others who have teenagers and sometimes they have a harder time in keeping the rules or implementing the rules. So how did you manage those seasons in their lives?
Yeah, it's hard to give up boundaries once ground has been gained. In other words, kasi sa simula pa lang, pag nabigyan na yon, tapos pinayagan na, mahirap nang i-pull back yon. And so it will have to be a deliberate and intentional fight. It will be a fight. It will be kasi you will slip back into old ways or even what's comfortable.
That's convenient, yeah.
What's convenient.
Right.
Yeah.
And, we don't want to be legalistic. Of course, there are times Manong Grab is calling, diba?
Yeah.
The driver is there, we need to give direction. So,
Yeah.
we allow naman for those. But,
Kami pinapaantay namin yung driver.
Wow.
Kami.
Siyempre.
but I don't want our kids to reach the point that they think they need their phone, that they cannot live without their phone for and it's just an hour at the most, maybe. So it's a good digital break for them also. And they don't realize how they need that for their souls, right? Just to be unplugged for an hour from their gadgets.
I think it's key also that you got them to agree beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were young.
When
They already set that culture.
That's right. Because that's what Paolo was saying. If they got that ground already of bringing their phones to the dinner tables, it will be hard to take that away from them. But it doesn't mean that there's no hope. Right?
Yeah, part of the conversation then kasi is to it's kind of like an underground, not underground, under the radar communication. Now when you're again, sometimes I'll bring out an article or a story, basically pointing to the importance of conversation and getting out or even statistics about gadgets, about conversation. So parang being strategic, I guess, bringing it out in meal times. Parang, okay, this is important.
Right.
Conversation.
You get the point.
Yes, we educate them as well. Remember when we guys attended this seminar together?
Yeah.
You were with us.
Yeah.
Wow, what's
Digital
the name of
cocaine.
it?
The digital
Yes,
cocaine.
yeah. After we attended that seminar, we actually explained everything to the kids. So somehow they're not just blindly following us, but they understand the principle behind leaving the gadgets.
That's important. Kasi the why before the what. Diba?
Right.
Or even just explaining the why muna. Diba?
Yeah.
So the first is culture. Okay, you have to be consistent in establishing that time of bringing everyone together on the table. No matter how busy everyone is, diba? It's just developing that habit. Okay, bring everyone to the table. The second is connection. Okay, which is actually the goal of mealtime conversations. You don't want to be just, I mean, you can have a conversation with your neighbor, right? But did you establish connection? Probably not. So our goal is a deeper connection with our children. Initially, when they were younger, we would start off the conversations with this question. And you know this, right? What's one high of
Highs
your
and
day?
lows.
Yeah, and what's low? Yeah, highs and lows. When they were younger, it was just that, and they would just share, oh, this happened in school, I got a perfect score, but we lost a basketball game. Again, just the consistency lang to establish the comfort in sharing things. And then we would try different things. Of course, it's been almost 25 years of having these conversations. It cannot be just one question on all their lives, diba? There were times I had to print out those conversation starters from Pinterest.
You sent those to me. And
Yeah.
I told him about it. Yeah.
Nagamit mo?
Hindi. Kasi sabi niya, okay na yan. Ayos, ano na, tanong lang.
No. Kasi hindi mo print out. Clear lang natin.
Wow, okay, nagsisihan.
May print ako dati, hindi nagamit eh.
Kaya nga namin kayo invite.
No, it worked for us, so it depends.
You have to find
what works
for you guys. If you don't need those printouts, then good for you. But for us, I don't know, because the kids are all different ages.
Yeah.
Right?
Same.
Yeah. So sometimes it's hard to bring out a question that everyone else can relate.
Right.
But I like these conversation starters because they're like warm-up questions for any group that you might have. Like, if you had 1 million pesos, how would you choose to spend it? Diba? So you get different.
If you have one food that you can bring into an island, deserted island, and that's what you'll eat for the next
nice.
1 month, what would that be?
Sige na nga, I will print those out.
I know. So it's fun because you start off with that one trivial question, but it goes, diba? Parang it leads to one question.
Yeah. And those are questions you would otherwise not think of,
right,
or not discover about them.
Yeah.
And let me explain why the reason behind consistency is important. No? Kasi in connecting. Ngayon, pag the kids are small, they're toddlers, you're always connecting. Kasi lalo na if you're nursing, if you're talking, if you have to feed them, if you have to bring them to school, change them, clothe them, give them a bath, you're always connecting, and that's fine. But that's why you have to have a long-term perspective and outlook. Na one day, they'll be independent. One day, they will do their own thing. And they will be busy with school, and they will do things. They'll be out in that, again, with their friends. Pero pag uwi ng bahay, merong point of connection. What is that? The mealtime.
Yeah. And there's this, well, I went through a counseling class last year. And because of the things that I learned, we actually added another layer to our connection with our kids. Because from this class that I attended, I realized that a lot of us don't really get to talk about our emotions. So when we're talking about high and low, it's normally the event that we are talking about. I got a perfect score. That's an event. Or I lost a basketball game. That's an event. So we wanted to take it further and ask the kids about the emotions behind the event. So something that we started asking them is, okay, wow, you got a perfect score. How do you feel about that? Or because we usually stop at, wow, perfect score. I'm so proud of you. Good job. We stop at that, diba? But we don't know what the emotion is. The emotion could be, well, I was actually so nervous doing that. Or I felt insecure and not confident at all taking that test, diba? But they wouldn't have been able to talk about that if we didn't follow up with a question.
Nice.
Yeah,
how
that's
did
so
you
good.
feel about that?
Actually, that's become part of the questions we ask now. 2 emotions that you felt this week, or 3 emotions that you felt this week. Sad, upset, mad, scared. So, and then pagkatapos, i-explain mo, why did you feel scared? So you go deeper into the heart, into the soul of the child, not just surface na, I played basketball. Oh, great. Nakailang points ka? Oh, 27. Oh, galing.
Yeah. And it was funny actually, because when we started asking them about emotions,
do they feel weird?
They struggled. Honestly, they struggled. It's like it would take them a minute at least or 2 minutes just thinking, okay, what were the emotions that I went through today? It goes to show that we didn't give the proper venue for them to talk about emotions.
Yeah.
There's even a time I had to print out a list of emotions. Okay, to make it easy for you here, just choose the
multiple choice.
Mukhang marami kaming print out after nito kayo.
I'll send you the PDF files. No, kasi today we know that you guys know that there's a lot of young kids struggling with mental health issues, right? And the reason for that, of course, it's not that simple and it's a complicated issue, but one of the main reasons is these kids have so much bottled up emotions inside and they're not given the chance or the opportunity to talk about them. That's what we're giving our kids. So when we ask them, okay, give me 3 emotions that you went through today, it's a practice of letting those emotions out.
Yeah.
Which one?
It will leak out. Or it will come.
Yeah, Janina would always say, because my daughter, our 21-year-old daughter, is a mental health advocate. And she would always be invited to speak. And one thing she would always talk about is she would compare her emotions to a volcano. Diba? So there's flowing magma inside, right? And one of these days, it will find its way to erupt.
That's a good illustration.
Right? And she says that I would rather be the one to control when it erupts than be surprised at a big eruption, and I wouldn't be in control of that. So talking about it with somebody you trust, it's like releasing the pressure of that magma. And you are still in control of it.
Yeah. How, question, no? Honest question. It might sound funny, but it's not.
No,
it might sound funny, but it's not. Example. Okay, what's your emotion today? I'm actually very sad and angry. Why? Because of you, Dad. Di ba? So si Daddy rin, ako rin actually, no? Nag-away na. Paano ba, how do you, like, I know there should be boundaries in meal conversations, but then it opens up now vulnerabilities. Of course, you ask about emotions, pero at the same time, lalo na habang tumatanda, especially if you have teenagers, and you're not being a good parent to them, and then they started opening up during mealtime, it gets awkward, or it gets, how do you deal with those, I don't know if you guys had ever had an experience na biglang nag-away na lang yung dalawa dahil inask nyo yung emotion. Ayan, magkagalit pala yun.
Definitely. Yes, a lot of times.
But it's important then kasi to, well, one, I mean, our kids, when they begin to open up, listening is I guess it's a very, very important part of communication that we miss out on it. Because we get defensive, we get prideful.
Yeah.
When I say we, parang, and then we take it against them that parang yung it's an affront to you. So but they're opening up and they're being very vulnerable at the moment. And so kasi pag mangyayari diyan, pag ikaw nga hindi ka naghuhugas ng plato. Di ba yung parang lang nag-open up kasi si ate hindi naghuhugas ng plato. Ikaw nga hindi ka. Then the next time she opens up or he opens up, hindi na lang sa daddy ko kasi masasabon lang ako. Diba? So it's like a clamshell. They'll just clam up, and I'll never talk about it anymore. And you don't want that then to your kids. So you want to make sure that there's open communication and you allow them to be. It's a safe place. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done. I remember a conversation one time with our third one, si Ryan. We were having lunch in BGC, in one of the restaurants in Uptown. And he was opening up a situation lang. He was, I can't even remember I think with a conflict with friends, ganun. And I had 3 points right away. Ito yung problema, ito yung kailangan gawin, ito yung kailangan in the future. So, may 3 points agad. And so,
may 3 points na.
6 na yun.
9!
So, si Janina, sinipa niya ako under the table. Tapos pinapakita niya na nag-text siya sa akin. So, tinignan ko yung text ko. Sabi niya, Dad, you are being a good pastor now, but you're not being a good dad to Ryan. Because you're not listening. So parang for me, wow, it was a wake-up call. Diba? Parang, he's trying to be vulnerable with what he's going through. And here I was trying to pound on him what he needs to learn from the situation. He knows the situation. He knows the lessons he needs to learn. And maybe there's time for me later on to do that. But it's a moment for him to open up. And pag nagsara, mahirap na.
Yeah. I actually like that question, Dennis. And I think whenever, or if you do decide as a family to start talking about emotions, the presumption there is as parents, you have to be ready to validate whatever they share. Validation is such an important tool to establish connection.
Yeah.
Kasi when a person shares an emotion, the first thing that he expects from you is validation.
Galing mo na. You're good.
Eh?
Galing
Galing
ah.
nga sa'yo.
Galing.
Yeah.
Validate.
Thank you for that validation. Yeah, kasi when a person is vulnerable, there is always that awkwardness in him or in his mind na, oh my gosh, I shared too much. I shouldn't have shared it. Diba? So what validation does is to tell that person, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yes, I'm glad that you shared that and I'm here to listen. So even if it's a negative emotion, parents don't overreact. What you have to do is just listen and hear out. Hear them out. Hear your kids out.
Apo.
Opo. That's
Parang mo
what
ako pinapagalitan kasi. Parang tinatamaan ako.
kasi,
Tinatamaan ako.
makinig. No need to be defensive,
I'm
Dennis.
not.
Hindi ako.
Hindi ah.
That's
Bait ako.
how you establish or you create a safe environment for your kids.
Yeah.
So that whatever they're going through, they know it's safe to
Yeah.
go to you.
And that is so hard. Ako, speaking as a dad, sometimes it's so hard. I feel like, oh, ako na naman si Papa Bear na making all the mistakes and you guys keep
You
pointing.
know, Berenstain Bears,
Yeah.
diba? Yung...
Naka-Berenstain Bears kami dito sa family. Lahat ng mali, si Papa Bear. No? So
Talaga?
Oo.
Baka talagang ikaw.
Actually, dito mga anak namin, pwede
Actually,
nating
yeah.
tanong eh.
I gave away all the Berenstain Bears.
Hinay-hinay ka lang, hindi na tayo imbitin ulit.
Hindi ma-air ito.
No, but I keep hearing, kanina pa you already alluded to that, creating that safe place where they can share and pour out. And I think I see that in both of you. You have mastered, I don't know if it's just mastering the art of having a poker face. Yung parang, yung gano'n, yung ang dami mo nang naiisip, pero okay.
Poker face,
yeah.
but you guys can read my face so well.
I can read very
I
well.
know that,
Yeah.
yes. Lalo na si Dennis.
Yes. We know kung meron kang gustong sabihin. Pero di ba parang, I think one of our friends also na maraming anak, sabi niya yun sa akin na you have to master the art of having a poker face. Pero I think more than, hindi sabi niya mahirap. Kasi as parents, sometimes, gusto nating, like, naku, teachable moment. I want you to, ito na, obviously yung lesson na pwede mong ma-learn. And I think the reminder that it's not about me, di ba? It's not to validate me as a parent when we ask those questions. It's not even to try to convince them of one right way already. Yung parang, tama ba? Yung may mga, yun yung napipick up ko.
I remember one time, Joaquin, he was maybe 4 or 5 years old then. We enrolled him in a preschool in the next village. And then first day niya, so when I picked him up, of course, natural question is, how was your first day, right? Ang sagot niya, Mom, I couldn't stop staring at this girl. That's his first answer. No, di ba?
Preschool yan,
Preschool. And there was something inside of me that wanted to say, don't entertain that, or that's not good to stare at just one girl. Parang I wanted to overreact na, oh no, does he have a crush na and all? But again, poker face, diba? I stayed calm. It's like, oh really? Okay, why do you think you wanted to stare at her face? Diba? Mga ganon. Just making sure lang that he would feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, and I
then
think
the day after.
Sorry, you were saying.
The next day, the second day, when I picked him up from school, sabi ko, okay, Joaquin, how was your second day in school? Ang sagot niya, Mom, I got the name of that girl that I love staring at.
Oh my.
But you see that he still felt comfortable. If I reacted the wrong way on that first day, he wouldn't share na.
Tinuruan ko kasi siya. Sabi ko, tanong mo yung pangalan. The moves.
Oh, that's a challenge for me because I am very expressive in my responses. Whether positive or negative. Ang bilis. Sabi ko nga, ano kaya magpa-botox ako para wala nang reaction yung face ko.
Gastos na naman.
And I think they can tell, no, if you're trying to put on a poker face lang, or if you're genuinely curious to know, and if you're really interested in what they have to say and how they really feel, I think they're good in detecting, no?
Right. Yeah, I also want to share about just trying to find out the context of whatever your child is sharing. Like kunyari, if your child says, Dad, I'm mad at you. Diba? Instead of reacting kaagad, Dennis, okay? Instead of reacting kaagad, now find the context. It's like, okay, why are you mad? Diba? And you will realize that, oh, I was thinking of something bigger pala. But the situation that she's talking about, it's actually so minor. But in my mind, diba, I made all the wrong conclusions already. So just try to establish context.
Yeah, that's good.
So
Meron ka
that's,
pang third C, right?
yeah, the third C is
The third one is
coaching.
coaching. I think pag meal times, those are perfect opportunities, 'di ba? Kasi again, as after we've set a place na they feel safe, they can open up their emotions, they can feel bad, they can feel good, they can feel whatever they've gone through the day. Then it's also opportunities. Meron ding times na ganun na, and sometimes, the power of stories, we underestimate. Diba? We tell them a story of, I remember this happened to me, or I remember this is what happened when this thing also happened to mom. And so they realize, number one, you can identify. Number two, you sort of see where they're coming from, but obviously their experience is distinct and unique. Pero at least, and then you teach them the lesson that you learned from your experience, which would be another under the radar communication. And this is something that you can learn from your experience without saying, and lalo na when the kids are older. Pag kids are younger, 3, 5 years old, 10 years old, ito yung kailangan mo matutunan ha. Pero pagdating ng 13, 14, 15, Dad, you're preaching to me again. Diba? And so, kailangan dyan yung under the radar communication. Stories help a lot.
Yeah, and also the privilege to coach our kids will only happen if there's connection. So somehow it becomes a natural fruit or result of being emotionally connected with your children. Kasi, di ba, to establish that emotional connection, you need to be listening to your kids. And if they see that you are sincerely listening to them, they will listen to you also. And that's when we can coach, if they're willing to listen to us. So that's the beauty of establishing mealtime conversations, di ba? You can have so much more impact and influence on your children, from toddler to the teens to the now adult. When Nate and Pauline are here over for dinners, we still have these long conversations with them, and it's still an opportunity for us to connect with them. And I'm just so thankful. Even with Pauline, she's so open, no, to hear from us. She always asks us questions. How do you do this? Or, how do you respond? And we're coaching her. She doesn't know it, but we have sort of worked our way into her life through these mealtime conversations.
One more thing pa pala before we move on from that topic. No? Kasi our authority will decrease. And you probably heard us talk about this before. But our influence can continue to increase. When our kids are 10 or maybe even younger, we'll tell them brush your teeth, change into your pajamas, sleep now. Pwede, di ba?
Pero
I brush my teeth naman if you remind. Papa
Pero,
Bear.
Nate is 24. If I'm still telling him brush your teeth, diba, and all that, we didn't do our job well. So our authority will decrease as they grow older, but our influence can continue to increase. And so I think that's important to understand and realize. Similarly, let's say we live in a city, okay, and let's say I don't know, whether that's a mayor or a senator or president of a country, I can tell I'm a good friend of that person. And whenever he makes a decision, he asks me for advice. Now, I don't have authority over that nation or city or province, but I have great influence. Yun yung difference nun eh. And so our children, as they grow up, that authority will diminish.
Yeah.
But influence can actually greatly increase through time.
If you establish that connection and that trust.
Yes.
But I think the reality, no, marami talaga, ewan ko, yung sermon, di ba? Yun nga, for them, teachable moment, ganyan. So ano yung advice ninyo? Like, when is the best time? And what if for them, no, this is the only time we're together. So that's why I really have to say my piece. So what is your advice for the parents na that's how they feel?
Meron kami may dressing room kami dito sa bahay. Naging, hindi ko alam kung panic room or parang,
Principal's room.
Parang
Principal's office.
May ganun. Kasi pag dinner time, you have that conversation, keep it a safe space. But there are times that you have to really talk to them. And so after the dinner, we'll call them. Diba? Ryan and Janina, Nathan, can we talk with you? Let's go, let's talk. And so we will have that conversation. And so there are moments talaga, you have to do it still. Meron pa rin.
Yeah, but I think as parents, we need to be discerning when that time is.
Yeah.
And I understand we're just very aggressive and purposeful, and it's
Strike
good.
while the iron is hot.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that parents care, right, to teach their children rather than, walang pakialam. And I love that about parents. But
Yep.
we need to do it at the time when you know your kids will receive
Right.
from you.
Right.
You don't want to force it. So just be discerning as parents.
Yeah, and I think it should not be the norm, no? Yung norm pa rin is the healthy, enjoyable conversations rather than the norm being, this is sermon time. And then sometimes we have happy times when we laugh, parang ganon.
Especially these times, no? Kasi global crisis, pandemic, and all that.
Mm.
Think about 10 years or 15 years from now. Your 5-year-old will be 20 years old. Diba? What will your 5-year-old remember during mealtime conversations, during COVID crisis?
Yeah.
Kasi in 10 years, 15 years from now, this will be in the history books. And in the
Mm.
same way we remember EDSA Revolution or whatever, diba? We will remember this COVID time.
Yeah.
What will our children remember during mealtime conversation?
Yeah.
Lagi kong pinapagalitan, laging sinasermonan. Diba? Or these were really, it was hard. Mom lost her job, pero parang walang problema, masaya pa rin kami.
I
Yeah.
love that. What will our
Yeah.
children remember?
That's right. Our mealtime conversations are honestly marked with laughter. I'm just so thankful. And naiyak tuloy ako.
Okay, yak.
Go.
No, because Paolo and I talaga, deliberately, we talked about it. We want our kids to remember all the laughter in this season of crisis.
Not that we don't have difficult circumstances.
Yeah,
we
hindi
don't
naman
mean
to
that.
toxic positivity that they're unaware of.
Yeah, or in denial.
Yeah, they're not. But parang it's the ability to rise above it, be overcomers, as the Bible says. So we want to show them that there can still be joy in the midst of a crisis. So even if everything's chaotic, diba? There's beauty.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we want to bring that out in the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I noticed, even when Nathan already, di ba, syempre he's married now. I remember you, Ate Jen, telling me that he would make an effort, even in spite of the lockdown, di ba? He would make an effort to reach out, to still be part of mga dinners and family conversations. And I think that's the long-term perspective, right? That they would actually want to spend time with you and have meals with you and just converse with you, even if they have their own families.
Yes.
No, so that's the dream.
Yeah, di ba parang na-discuss natin yun about creating that home court advantage of them wanting to go back to your house without being required to go back to your house.
Yeah.
And just spend time with you. Yeah.
That's right.
That's why we want to go back to your house.
We miss going there.
Yeah.
Just come anytime. Bake a cake again, Thammie.
Alam
I
ko
shall.
na, next time na kung mai-invite ulit kami, pwede yung podcast episode dito na sa bahay.
Pwede.
Yun.
Mukbang edition.
I like that. I like that.
Come home. Coming home edition.
You know, when you were saying, Karina, about what will the kids remember 10, 15 years from now if they look back? For our family, I think it would be the sardines.
Yes.
Why? What do you mean?
Puro sardinas
Panay
kinakain.
Kami corned beef.
Oh. Corned
Mas
beef.
healthy salmon fish.
Yeah, healthy kayo. Tayo process.
Oo nga eh.
Let's change it to sardines
Oh,
now.
we repent.
No, but I remember, Kuya Pao, before when we were still, I'm not sure if I was pregnant with Aliana, but you gave me that word captive audience. So when, like every mealtime, it's captive audience eh. So let's not waste that time that we have with them, di ba? And what I like about everything, like the 3 C's that you said, actually mas marami ka pang C, hindi lang, may iba pang C eh. But di ba, when you talked about building culture, establishing connection, and having consistency, and that
Coaching.
yeah, parang because of the connection now, being able to coach them. What I like about everything that you just talked about, it's not just the what, it's not the how to na parang, ito gawin mo ganyan, the practical tips, but it's really going back to the heart of it, going back to the why we do this in the first place. And for every family, it might look different.
Yeah.
Different families have different dynamics, different lifestyle, different personalities, diba, within the family dynamics. But the house and the principles can remain the same, even if the application or the strategies to go about accomplishing those goals paiba-iba, no? So yun yung parang pinaka ko, going back to the heart of it. And I like that I know you are not just telling us these principles, but you live these principles out. We have seen it through the years We have seen it whether it's just us na tayo lang or it's in a big group na setting. And thank you. I want to take this time to thank you for showing us that naiyak din ako, na-miss na yata kita. Okay,
I know, you missed me.
Yeah. But you have set that example. And I think that's the beauty, and that's why we really wanted to fight for doing life and parenting and family life in community. Because I honestly don't think we would be doing it. Like I could read it in a book. I could see it. I could watch you or hear a parenting seminar. But what really helped me was seeing it lived out within community as we did life together.
Yeah.
Yun. So ikaw na ga kasi
drama
na.
Hindi,
Baka hanggang ngayon di ko pa rin mapaupo si Dennis, but because he saw that Kuya Pao, coffee time is sacred time. Now he has coffee with me.
Things are gonna change. Things are gonna change.
They have changed.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Paolo and Jenn. Sobra. I think we've learned a lot. I think this is a review for us to go back again and say, mealtime conversations are very important. Let's make good use of that time with our kids. Now, for those who are watching, they might be asking, where can we find you? Do you guys have any social media platforms or any show that you have also?
Yeah, well, every Thursday at 8 p.m. we dish out content on our Facebook page, the Punzes, Punzees. So you can find us there. Yeah. And then, or Jen, you can follow Jen also at Jenn Punzalan on Instagram or Twitter. And me also, Paolo Pun, Paolopun.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel na, sorry.
Yes.
Wala. Yeah, yung website mo.
PaoloPunzalan.com. You can also check us out there.
All right. So we'll be just putting the link below for everyone to follow you guys. Again, thank you so much. I hope everybody who listened here enjoyed the conversation. Again, this is your hosts, Dennis and Thammie. And of course, our guests, Paolo and Jenn. Welcome again. And thank you for listening to Our Parenthood.
See you guys next time. Thank you, Ate Jenn. Thank you, Kuya Bao.
Thank you guys. We had fun. Take care.
Bye.